Can you define what a woman is?
A woman is a person who says she is. And let me just tell you one story about this, because when I was a
you're not going to
child-
tell me a story. We're not doing that right now. It's not story time.
Would you agree with the statement that Charlie Kirk was a dangerous extremist?
I can't answer the question that way. I can certainly say that
No.
statements that I am aware of that Mr. Kirk made were ones that I would consider to be dangerous.
And would those be the ones that he took directly from the Bible repeatedly?
I'm referring to the ones that he made about black women and black communities, the stereotyping that stereotyped a whole group of people.
So you would put him on a list of dangerous people that should, as the Southern Poverty Center did.
I don't designate groups. I'm just
Well, you've had
answering your
opinions on
question.
everything the Democrats asked for. I just thought you might have an opinion on that.
I shared my opinion about some of the things I heard he said, yes.
Okay. Would you agree that a group could be good, have a great mission, do a lot of good things, but also commit crimes?
Well, I mean, anything is possible. I think what
Well,
we're
no,
talking about today is a
that was kind of a
specific
yes or no, but
organization. It's a specific organization we're talking about, though, which is Southern Poverty Law Center. And
so
I think the point is,
your opinion is they can't commit crimes because they do good?
my opinion is that we see a prosecution where we know that the Southern Poverty Law Center offered evidence and is asking for accountability about whether that exculpatory evidence was shown to a grand jury.
Brandon Gill asked Maya Wiley one straightforward question during a House hearing, and she couldn't give a straight answer, not because the question was complicated, but because the answer would expose something she doesn't want people to know. This isn't about gotchas or political theater. This is about watching someone get trapped by their own words when a congressman simply asks them to explain what they actually believe. And that matters because these are the people influencing policy that affects your neighborhood, your safety, your family's ability to walk around at night without fear. So Gill starts by asking Maya Wiley a basic question. Do you still believe in defunding the police? Now listen to how she answers. She doesn't say no. She talks about driving dollars to a community safety, preventing crime, ensuring responsive law enforcement. It sounds reasonable until you realize she's doing exactly what politicians do when they don't want to admit what they actually believe. She's using different words to describe the same thing. Gill pushes back and asks if that means driving dollars away from law enforcement. And Wiley still wouldn't give a straight answer. She keeps talking around it. Here's what matters. During her mayoral campaign, Wiley said on the record she wanted to take $1 billion from the New York City Police Department. That's not vague. That's not philosophy. That's a specific number. That's a plan. And when Gill brings this up and asks if she still stands by that statement, she says what she wants to talk about, hate crimes instead. She's literally trying to change the subject when confronted with her own past words. This is the pattern you need to understand. When someone can't answer a simple yes or no question about something they said before, it usually means they still believe it, but they know it's unpopular now. If she genuinely changed her mind, she could just say that. People respect honesty, but she can't say it because she hasn't changed her mind. The reality is that cities that reduced police budgets saw increases in violent crime. That's not opinion. That's what happened in real communities where real people live. When you cut police funding, you get less police presence. When you get less police presence, crime goes up. This isn't complicated. It's cause and effect. The people who suffered most from increased crimes after these policies were implemented weren't wealth activists. They weren't wealthy activists. They were working families in neighborhoods that could at least afford it. They were the people who needed police protection the most. Wiley knows this. That's why she won't answer the question directly. She knows that saying yes to defunding police in 2024 sounds different than it did in 2021. And when crime was skyrocketing in New York City, the takeaway here is simple. When politicians dodge questions about their own past statements, pay attention. That dodge is usually the answer you're looking for.
Ms. Wiley, I have a couple questions for you. Do you still believe in defunding the police?
I believe in public safety, and that means driving dollars to where we're most likely to prevent crimes from happening and ensure that we have responsive law enforcement that doesn't violate people's rights and it prevents crime.
Does that mean driving dollars away from law enforcement?
It means making sure we're driving dollars to the things that support public safety, and that's a
possibly away from
variety of things.
So possibly away from law enforcement.
Well, I think we have law enforcement. We have talked about the need for law enforcement, particularly when we're fighting hate and bias crimes, which
I
have
agree, we
more
certainly
than doubled in
do
this
need law
country since
enforcement.
2015.
Law enforcement's
So I think
very important. During your mayoral race a few years ago, you said, quote, "I'm going to take $1 billion from New York City Police Department." Do you still think that's a good idea?
Well, I'm here to talk about hate crimes, not my run
just asking
for
if that's-
city.
if- I'm
I
asking from a
stand by my
public's-
run for mayor, and I appreciate
stand by
the
that statement.
opportunity
You also
to try to
stated-
drive dollars
You also
to
stated
public
you
safety.
have to cut the police budget and change what we mean by policing. Do you still stand by that statement as well?
I stand by the need to invest in community safety, to ensure that
by
we have a
defunding the
vibrant
police.
civil rights community that is able to participate in
I just want to
keeping
be
our
clear.
community
You
safe
believe in
from hate
investing
and
in
bias.
community safety by defunding the police?
I am here to say that I'm really grateful we have the Southern Poverty Law Center because it is doing work, including with law
and you think
enforcement,
defunding the police
prevent
makes our community
hate
safer?
and bias
Okay,
crimes.
I've got another question for you. What is a black job?
You'd have to ask Donald Trump.
I'm not sure what that means. I'm referring to a statement that you made a year ago on your LinkedIn. "I was so honored and proud to be a New York State delegate for our next president, with Vice President Kamala Harris ascending to her black job."
Donald Trump made a comment that was very stereotypical about black people, and it was a joke about his stereotypical statement about black
What is a
people.
black job?
You'll have to ask Donald Trump.
I have to ask, well, Donald Trump's not on the witness stand, so
Well,
I'm asking you.
and I'm here to talk about hate crime, which I hope you want to talk about as
could
well.
The gentleman will
Hillary
yield, I can
Clinton-
clarify that.
No, I'd like to hear from the witness, but I appreciate it. Could Hillary Clinton have filled that black job, what you call
You'd
a black
have to
job?
ask Donald Trump.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. Dr. Swain, got a couple questions for you. And thank you again for being here. In your book, The New White Nationalism, which is excellent, you wrote that in 2002 there were approximately 2,000 KKK members in the entire nation. Sounds like you believe a large portion of them were paid informants. Do you think that the SPLC was involved back in 2002?
Well, there was a scholar named Larry.
If you can turn the mic on, please.
There was a scholar named Larry Wilcox that I referenced, and he did research, and he was very critical of the Southern Poverty Law Center, and he said at one point that there were more paid informants than actually KKK members. And I would concede that the Southern Poverty Law Center was very successful as far as bankrupting the neo-Nazis and the KKK. So I would concede that, but I will also argue that as early as 2009, when I wrote the article that triggered the Southern Poverty Law Center, at that time the new Black Panther Party was patrolling the polls, I think in Philadelphia, and they were intimidating white people, and they had sticks in their hands, and the Southern Poverty Law Center had not labeled them as a hate group. And so in the blog, where I ended with, instead of monitoring hate groups, the Southern Poverty Law Center has become one, instead of labeling or listing the new Black Panther Party, what they did, they went after Lou Dobbs, and they went after the Center for Immigration Studies, and anyone who questioned liberal immigration policies.
Mm-hmm. And we've got about 15, 20 seconds left. Can you just, to sort of close this out, what are the dangers of paying for these informants and extremist groups like the KKK?
You get biased information if you're paying people for information. And one of the dangers for our society is that the Southern Poverty Law Center has pretty much become an arm of the Democratic Party. They are very partisan. They should not have that 501c3 status if they're going to take a side in, if they're going to be biased in how they monitor groups and how they destroy individuals like me.
Then Gill asks Wiley before we got to Dr. Swan. But Gill asked Wiley, the lady with the dreads that went first, or the braids, about something she posted on a LinkedIn, which was the black jobs, right? You guys heard that. She wrote that Vice President Kamala Harris was ascending to her black job. Gill asks her to define what a black job is. She won't answer. She keeps saying you have to ask Donald Trump because Trump made a stereotypical comment about black people. But that's not what Gill is asking. He's asking her to explain her own words. He's asking what she meant when she wrote it. She can't explain it without either admitting that she used the same language she's accusing Trump of using, or she has to backtrack on something she posted publicly. This is the contradiction that matters. The left uses the term black job all the time when talking about representation and identity. They talk about black doctors, black lawyers, black leaders, black voices, black spaces, black everything. That's normal language in progressive circles. But when Trump says that illegal immigration is taking black jobs, suddenly it's racist stereotyping. Suddenly it's dangerous rhetoric. But the language is the same. The concept is identical. You can't say it's okay to talk about black jobs in one context and then say it's racist to talk about black jobs in another context. That's not principle. That's just picking and choosing based on who's saying it. This matters because it shows how standards get applied differently depending on who you are and what political team you're on. If you believe something is true, it should be true regardless of who says it. If you believe something is wrong, it should be wrong regardless of who says it. The fact that Wiley can't answer the question reveals that she knows this inconsistency exists. She knows she can't defend the position without exposing the double standard, so she dodges. She changes the subject. She says she's here to talk about hate crimes. But Gill isn't letting her off the hook because he didn't let her off the hook because he keeps asking the same question because the question is legitimate. He's not being unfair. He's pointing out that she used language she now condemns when someone else uses it. That's not a gotcha. That's accountability. That's asking someone to explain why their words mean something different when they say them than when someone else says them. The real lesson here is that consistency matters in public life. If you're going to hold people accountable for their words, you have to hold yourself to the same standard. You can't claim to care about fairness and then apply rules differently based on politics. So this is where hearing gets into something bigger than just one politician's inconsistency. Dr. Caroline Swan, as you guys see on the screen. Now we get to her. A scholar and expert on these issues testifies about the Southern Poverty Law Center. She points out something crucial. In 2002, there were approximately 2,000 KKK members in the entire nation. But according to research she references, there were more paid informants than actual KKK members. Let that sink in. The organization that's supposed to be monitoring hate groups was essentially funding the groups they were supposed to be monitoring. That's not oversight. That's creating a problem you're claiming to solve. Swan also points out that the Southern Poverty Law Center successfully bankrupted some extremist groups, which is fair to acknowledge. But then she makes the real argument. The Southern Poverty Law Center became selective about which groups they labeled as hate crimes. When the new Black Panther Party was caught intimidating voters at polling places, the Southern Poverty Law Center didn't label them as a hate group, but they went after organizations like the Center for Immigration Studies for questioning liberal immigration policies. They went after Lou Dobbs for his commentary on immigration. They labeled people as extremists for having policy disagreements. This is the institutional credibility problem. When an organization that's supposed to be nonpartisan and objective starts picking sides on policy debates, they stop being a watchdog and they become a weapon. They became a tool for one political side to use against the other. And this matters because these organizations influence policy. They influence how government agencies respond. They influence media coverage and they influence corporate decisions about who gets hired and who gets fired. If the organization making these determinations is actually partisan, then the entire system becomes compromised or destroyed. The real world impact is that people lose jobs, reputations get destroyed, and legitimate policy debates get shut down because one side has weaponized the language of hate and extremism. Swan makes the point that if an organization is going to have tax-exempt status, they shouldn't be allowed to be this partisan. That's a reasonable position. Tax-exempt status is a public benefit. It means taxpayers are subsidizing the organization or paying for the organization. If that organization is being used as a political weapon, that's a problem. The takeaway is that institutional credibility requires consistency and fairness. When organizations stop applying standards equally, they lose the ability to make credible claims about anything. So what does any of this actually mean for you? Why should you care about a congressional hearing involving people you never heard of? Because these are the people making decisions that affect your life. When activists and nonprofit leaders have the ear of politicians, when they are shaping policy, when they are influencing how government agencies operate, their credibility matters. If they can't be honest about their own beliefs, if they dodge questions about their own statements, if they apply standards inconsistently, then the policies they're pushing might not actually be based on honest reasoning. They might be based on ideology that they won't admit to publicly. Look at what happened with public safety policy over the last few years, is my point. Activists pushed for defunding police. Politicians listened. Some cities actually reduced police budgets. What happened? Crime went up. Violent crime, property crime, robbery, assault, it all increased. The people who suffered weren't the activists or the politicians. It was working families and neighborhoods that depend on police protection. It was small business owners. It was kids who couldn't play outside safely. It was real consequences from policies that sounded good in theory, but didn't work in practice. And the people who pushed those policies won't admit they were wrong. They won't say, maybe we made a mistake. Instead, they dodge questions about what they actually believe. They change the subject. They attack the people asking the questions. That's not how you fix problems. That's how you avoid accountability. The real solution is to demand honesty from people making these decisions. Ask them direct questions and don't accept vague answers. Look at what they said in the past and ask them if they still believe it. Pay attention to whether they apply the standards consistently or whether they pick and choose based on politics. Watch how they respond when they're challenged. Do they engage with the substance of the question or do they deflect? Do they admit when they're wrong or do they blame other people? These are the things that will tell you whether someone is actually interested in solving problems or whether they're just interested in winning political battles. The people in your community deserve leaders who are honest about what they believe and willing to change course when policies don't work. They're willing to change course. Not politics, policies. They deserve institutions that apply standards fairly and aren't just weapons for one political side. They deserve accountability. Brandon Gill's simple questions. Do you still believe this? Can you explain what you meant? Why you won't answer directly? Those are the questions we should all be asking of the people in power, because when they won't answer, that's usually the answer. But I'll catch you in the next one, family. As always, we're having a conversation. Wait. I just thought of something before we close. The hearing shows us something important. Accountability works when someone actually pushes back. When Gill asks direct questions and doesn't accept dodges, Wiley has nowhere to hide. That's the model we need more of, not gotchas or political theater or theatrics or being performative, but actual questions about actual statements with actual consequences. Demand this from your representatives. Ask them directly what they believe, make them answer, don't accept vague language or subject changes. Your community's safety, your family's future, and the integrity of your institutions depend on people in power being honest about what they actually think and willing to admit when they're wrong. That's not partisan. That's just basic accountability. Catch you in the next one, family. Let the love supersede the hate. If you got some value from this video, give this video a big thumbs up and help crush that YouTube algorithm. And join the family if you're new. And if you're already part of the family, I appreciate you, family, and I love you. On that note, family, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Catch you in the next one. Peace.